Coming up today on the Nice Guys on Business.
So huge studies have been done on dairy cows and the quality of their milk and associated with alternating current and dirty electricity and greenhouses and grows. Now, I know I'm not grass. You're not a strawberry. We're not cows, but we are biological. And so the simple reality is that the electromagnetic fields, these frequencies, these waves that are not harmonious with the Earth's natural frequency and waves are damaging. So, I know that was long-winded. We just started putting all that stuff together and came up with a product line that's good for you. It's good for your wallet. It's good for your stuff.
The greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world that the nice guys didn't exist. Go from where you are now to where you could be. Get expert tips to grow your business, to be more productive and more efficient, whether you're trying to build influence, grow your community, or make it rain. Best-selling author of Nice Guys Finish First, Doug Sandler, can lead the way. The Nice Guys on Business is produced by TurnKey Podcast Productions. Now, here's your host, Doug Sandler.
Hey, welcome back to the podcast, Nice Guy Community. Seasoned at building seven-figure revenue businesses. B.D. Erickson II. Was your dad a first, or was your?
Yeah, my grandfather too. Actually, it's a family name. Yeah.
My brother was a junior. My father was a senior. And why did I get Doug? It's like what happened? How come I was the afterthought? All right, well, I'll let him have it. Well, B.D. Erickson II is a proven leader and team builder, successfully navigating an ever-changing high-tech business climate. He's the president and CEO of Satic Technology, Engineered Clean Power, and having business and science degrees combined with the Tony Robbins Mastery University and Leadership Academy. BD is definitely well equipped to lead a highly technical sector of clean, renewable energy. Now, if you're dealing, entrepreneurs, now listen to this for a second. If you're dealing today in a high pressure, time crunch, pressure packed, ever changing environment, today is a great episode to listen to. Clean, renewable power. We're going to talk a little bit about that, but we're going to talk a lot about business. BD, welcome to the Nice Guys on Business podcast.
Thanks for having me on, Doug.
Hey, happy to have you here, man. And I appreciate you sharing the love in sponsoring an episode of the Nice Guys. And we'll talk a little bit about that after I stop recording here. But I know a lot of times when people chat about clean, renewable power, they think solar and wind. Now, you guys do a slightly different spin on not that, but you have your own thing. So can you just tell me a little bit about what Satic does? And then we'll get into the whole business conversation in just a second, but I want to set it up properly for my community here.
You bet. So we are the largest solar dealer in Western Montana, but that's not really our claim to fame. Our claim to fame is manufacturing clean energy tech products. And you said it properly. Just because something is green, renewable, doesn't necessarily mean it's clean. Well, what do I mean by that? Well, okay, solar panels are green in that they're renewable. It's not coal, but the electricity they produce is direct current, which now has to be phased into alternating current for use. And oftentimes that conversion is a little messy. Or the opposite of that, when we've got AC running through our lines and you need to plug in your phone. Anything with a battery, your phone, tablet, pad, computer, you name it, is DC. And so now we've got to switch that. So those conversions, lighting and some other things really are, wreaking a little bit of a havoc on the quality of our electricity. So one is green and the other is actually technically clean.
So tell me about, how did you find, because there is some white space in there that you covered. I mean, somebody else had also, many companies I'm sure are out there that are selling how to clean your power or how to make it better. There are a lot of companies doing solar. A lot of companies are doing, renewable energy. A lot of people are doing wind, even, commercially. But you found this kind of this side niche within the industry that is a home run, not only from a business perspective, but in helping educate and really helping to bring a great product to the market. So can you discover how you discovered maybe this white area in the market that you found?
Yeah. How do you find your market gap, right? So I certainly didn't invent anything. It's not, bleeding edge tech. I mean, other companies have done it for years. So the ham radio guy, the audiophile, he wants clean power, and he can hear it, the pop or tick in the speakers when the mini fridge comes on is deafening to his personality type. The rest of us barely know it, right? So let's say we're in this, you're going to go to Best Buy or something and get a receiver, a stereo or something. Yamaha's a great brand. I ride Yamaha bikes. It's $500 or $600. It's going to be great. Well, now you're in this bougie mall in Bellevue, Washington, in Seattle, and you see the Bang & Olufsen store.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that thing's $9,000. And you say to yourself, what? Good gravy. How could it be that different? Well, it is slightly different, but to the person that cares, it's vastly different. And again, it's, when my mom would vacuum when I was a little kid, I'd put lines in the TV, or, when you're watching James Cameron's Avatar and you've totally escaped temporarily into this sight and sound in a great theater room. When the fridge comes on, it makes the speakers pop or tick. And that's just part of the gig. Well, the audiophile, it drives him nuts. And so Bang & Olufsen's don't. They store some power, and then they feed this really good, clean, stored power. So what happens outside that doesn't affect it. So when you buy, let's say you buy a big home entertainment center, you're going to buy probably a Monster Cable brand surge protector, right? Because you don't want a catastrophic surge to wipe out this $5,000 home entertainment center. So there are other things that have great component sets in them, and they work to clean and filter and regulate power. But the person that's going to buy a $9,000 receiver when a $500 one's going to do pretty good, it's kind of a unique party, right? What we wanted to do is, rather than just do that to your stereo, our approach was do that to your whole home. Do that clean, filtered, regulated power for your whole home. So the solar is going to work better. It's going to lower amp draw on big energy hogs like your AC and your freezer and your fridge. And then these things are going to run cooler, because a lot of times the wasted, non-working, dirty electricity, well, where does it go? What happens? Well, it turns into heat. So your air conditioner's hot. It is. And you're asking it to make cold. The back of your fridge is hot. Of course it is. Back of your freezer is hotter than blue blazes, and we're asking it to make cold, right? So it shouldn't just normally be hot. What's happening is the dirty electricity is not as easily converted into work. So it converts into heat. So, there's some side benefits to that. Everybody knows what a surge protector is. It's good to have it. But when you have this clean, filtered, regulated power, several things happen. When those devices cool down, you lower your bill, because that's wasted electricity, and they live a happier, longer life. And we've all, plugged our phone in, and this time it charges really slow and hot. Well, why, Doug? It didn't last time. It didn't the last 20 times, but this time it is. You don't have to be, an engineer from MIT to say, this is odd. This is abnormal. I'm experiencing something that's different, and it's probably not good. And so the last part of it, and I know I'm long-winded here, was human health. I mean, we know what the grass looks like under power lines. It ain't bushy-er, Doug. It's bushy-less, right? And that's just a reality, because it's harmful to it. So huge studies have been done on dairy cows and the quality of their milk, and associated with alternating current, dirty electricity, and greenhouses and grows. Now, I know I'm not grass. You're not a strawberry. We're not cows, but we are biological. And so the simple reality is that the electromagnetic fields, these frequencies, these waves that are not harmonious with the Earth's natural frequency and waves, are damaging. So, I know that was long-winded. We just started putting all that stuff together and came up with a product line that's good for you. It's good for your wallet. It's good for your stuff.
So, as a business owner myself, and having been self-employed for the last 30 years in its one capacity or another, they say that the riches are in the niches. And certainly there are better niches than others when it comes to bringing your product to the marketplace. You don't want to bring a $1,000 product to a $500 affordability market. So it's just not the reality of it. But in your particular case, you're bringing your product to a market that tends to be really health conscious, really focused on understanding the detriment to having unclean power. But one of the things that you had said, which was really interesting, was you made the comparison, the Bang & Olufsen versus the Samsung, or just the typical off the shelf at Best Buy type of product. Tell me who you appeal to like, if you're talking to one person in my audience, who is that one person that you want to hear the message? If I had 10,000 people listen, but I only had a certain segment of my audience that would really connect with your message, who is that person connecting with your message right now?
So that's cracking that piece of the code, is whether or not you'll be able to hang out in business long enough before you run out of money, or if you'll survive and thrive. Finding your customer. So you got to do like three things. Number one, who's my customer? What do they want to hear? And then where do I find them to tell them that?
Mm.
Right? That's the code you got to break, right? So when I told people that I was going to make $1,000 wire-in product that you'd wire into your electricity panel for health, people laughed so hard. And so, fringe friends are like, oh yeah, that's a really great idea. And then they laugh at you in their car. Your real friends just laugh right then. They just fall into their stool laughing at it because you're safe with them. They love you enough to tell you the truth. It's crazy. So my son was getting sick from the power lines, and I knew it was true for me. But the minute you say that out loud, you look like a foil hat weirdo. And when I tell people that the 5G tower is frying you, now you're a conspiracy theorist, and you just get put in all these boxes, and none of them are very complimentary, right? But I knew that it was real for me. So when I started diving into the world of EMF, electromagnetic fields, the syndrome is called EHS, electro hypersensitivity syndrome. I thought there's got to be, 4 people in America that have this. There's not. There's like 40,000, and it's growing all the time. And I had no idea that this subculture existed. And nowadays, how many people, don't want maybe meat that's grain fed or has had a lot of antibiotics or steroids? Mm-hmm. They want this naturally nested egg. They want this, cow that came from the Hutterites and the Mennonites. They're lovely people. It's never had steroids. It's never had vaccines. There's a lot of these people, right? Who wants an organic? They want a non-GMO tomato. They want a tomato that isn't full of glyphosate and Roundup. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of these people. So that's my customer. It's like, okay, if you're doing these things for your health, but you're getting radiated all the time, then there's just another aspect there. So we need good water, good air, some exercise, some healthy food. And guess what? Sorry, man, you need a dirty electricity filter. In today's modern world, you need one.
So you talked about a little bit earlier, and maybe I didn't realize this because possibly I didn't do the research in enough spots or in enough places. I didn't realize you were also a solar company that provides this clean power product as well. So I am assuming, again, maybe wrongfully so, I'm assuming that your sub niche within your market of I'm going to appeal to the solar world, not just because people that like solar like to save money, but they probably like the whole idea of getting off the grid a little bit more because stick it to the man is the challenge that we all deal with. So are you getting your customers, what's the best way to you have 2 ways of making money. One is to find new customers. Second is to do more with the customers that you have in place right now. So are you doing more with the customers you have in place right now? Or do you find that this sector this market is a whole different market than your clean renewable market?
So that's where we broke the code. So you're a good interviewer here because without you and I don't have any history. We did one show together, but you weren't even the interviewer. You're just and you've really in 5 minutes found it. So we have 2 businesses. And to answer this as succinctly and clearly as I have, because this is what took us from doing a couple $1 million a year in rev to nearly $1 million a month. This was a game changer. We have 2 customers. Okay. So our main customer goes on our store, staticshield.com. They're worried about EMF. They've maybe talked to a building biologist or they've done their research and now they're ready for a dirty electricity EMF filter. They go on our store, they buy. Okay. Now we know that there are some main culprits, some main causes of EMF. And so I always tell people, look, I love making money. I'm grateful for my store. I'm grateful for my company. But a lot of this stuff you can do yourself with no money. It's like, okay, smoking's bad for you. Okay, we're going to put a cotton filter on it. Yes. Or stop smoking, which is really better. So is it really better to buy one of BD Erickson's filters or is it better to find culprits and turn them off or get rid of them? It's way better. So I spent 2 years on an EMF guide, just telling people, no matter how humble you are financially, there are things that you can do right now to really limit your overexposure. 2 of the biggest culprits right now, here we go. Number 1, the smart meter. So the utilities are putting a new meter on our homes called the smart meter. Mm-hmm. It is a huge receiver transponder, right? This thing is like a cell phone tower on the side of your house. So he's a big culprit. Maybe the next biggest culprit is a solar inverter. Now, if I'm going to take you solar, we have to do 2 things. If you're on grid and 90% of solar installations are on grid, you're just lowering your bill. We need 2 things. We need a solar inverter and we need a net meter. So the 2 biggest culprits for dirty electricity come with solar automatically. And you are, and I hate to say it, but I'm going to say it. I'm going to speak and own my truth. You're frying them. You're frying that family. So when we do solar, we put clean power products on so that it's even cleaner than before, truly clean, not just green. And we started reaching out to solar companies. And it was tough because solar guys are hard. Oh, they're stinkers, man. They're early adopters. They're always the smartest guy in the room. The first thing out of their mouth is always, oh, I've tested those. They don't work, blah, 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 even though you know he hasn't. So you got to be gracious and say something like, well, I know you've tested something like it, but we really want you to try ours because, unbeknownst to you, and I'm not suggesting anyone's nefarious, you're accidentally putting the two biggest causes of EMF and dirty electricity on this little family's home. And so we really found some early adopting solar companies that said, you know what? We've tested your products and it was a hard pill to swallow, but it's true. You're right. So then we went from selling maybe, 100 a month to solar companies in our store to doing 1,000 a month as these big solar companies just started installing it with their equipment. It just, when you're doing solar, you're going to be standing at the breaker panel with a screwdriver anyway. Adding this piece of equipment about the size of a shoebox was a really easy add for them. And that, Doug, it changed our life. I mean, we literally went from, 100 units a month to over 1,000 a month just with solar leaving on pallets. It changed our world.
What did you lead with? Just curious. Did you lead with solar or did you lead with creating clean power products? What was your lead in product?
So clean power products is our gig. So growing up, my family had a company called Sunwise Solar in Belt, Montana, and we manufactured solar panels, not the PV ones. They just made hot air, but they worked really great. And so, solar, growing up, not only did my houses have solar on them, but solar out of my family's factory. So selling solar when it came back around, 10 years ago was a really easy thing for me to do, an easy business for me to get into. And it also really started, caused me to rub elbows with these other solar dealers. So I would say 10% of my business is residential solar installs in the greater Missoula, Montana area, right? That's just kind of a side hustle and a hobby. Really, our business is clean power, and not just clean power to lower your bill by 12%, but clean power for health.
I got to figure out how to get to Missoula, Montana, because I'll tell you, I'm huge at fly fishing and I live in California now, and I have not had a lot of time to do fly fishing. I lived on the East Coast and would always fish all of those little mountain streams between North Carolina and Maine. And it was great. When Beautiful. You said Missoula, Montana, I just like, oh my God.
It's Mecca. It is. This is where fly fishermen come to worship.
It totally is. So talk to my consumers that are out there for just a second, then we'll get back into the business talk and talk about your product line. But I'd love to hear from the consumer standpoint. I've contemplated solar. Technology changes so fast. The price of solar nowadays, it's either, hey, you pay X amount of dollars up front or you can lease it every month. And by the time you're done, you're spending the same in your lease as you would for your electric bill. And then I own a solar panel on top of my roof at the end of this lease, or at the end of the lease term, I have these solar panels and they're outdated. What's your advice to, it's like asking, a fisherman, what's the good bait to use? Because it's probably just going to lead back to solar, but I'm going to ask it anyway. What's your advice when it comes to adding solar? Do people do it? Do they wait? Just not as it relates to clean power, but just as it relates to, hey, I really want to try to be more efficient with my use of power and my use of my bank account too.
Yeah. So for most of my customers, it's one of two decisions. And pick either one. I'm going to give you both. Number one, let's say, I'm a red pillar and I believe that the world is about to crumble economically. We're printing too much money and the countries are moving off the dollar. I want to have zombie apocalypse, go to hell power. When it all goes to hell, I want power.
All right.
So this person now has a hybrid inverter. They have batteries. They have a generator and hidden fuel, and they stay on grid as long as they can. But when it melts, they're ready. So that's about 70% of the installs we do. And that's very expensive. And only a handful of people can really do that well.
Wait, that's 70% of your installs?
Or 70% of my installs.
I was going to think that would be like a 0.1% of your installs, those zombie apocalypse wanters,
I live in Western Montana.
Okay. Enough said.
I live in the prepper capital of the world. People move from California. I think we have 3 families moving into Missoula from California a day who are seeking some level of asylum like that. And since not many installers can do those really complex ones, we get a ton of them, as many as we can install. Yeah. So the other portion of it is just someone that just wants to lower their bill. And it's a totally financial. Yeah, I'd like to save the planet. That'd be nice. I'll help. Yeah, I'd like to go green and do my part, but it really has to make financial sense. And so, we don't do leases or PPAs. We only sell the equipment installed, and we only do it soup to nuts. Like I'm not going to sell you a panel or inverter. We're not going to work with your contractor. We're the contractors. We're the engineers. We're the electricians. We're all of it. And we're going to do it soup to nuts. And I'll only do it that way because I have a super high standard. I've had solar on every house I've lived in since I was a kid. I mean, I put it on myself. I put my solar. I have a really high standard. I don't want any wires showing. I just want the panels black on black, look like they're floating. I only do tier 1 equipment. I'm not tempted at all to stack them high or sell them cheap. I want to do them really slow and really well, and that's kind of expensive. But as long as, so let's say you're going to buy it, and it's going to be $40,000. Well, the credit union here will finance that for 15 years. And as long as that payment is equal to or less than your power bill, of course you do it. It's a no-brainer because I'm adding an asset, a valuable asset to the roof of my house. So my home is now, I have more equity instantly because my home is more valuable. And I'm paying the same amount, but I'm not paying it to the utility. I'm paying it to me. And come year 10 or come year 15, that's gone. You're done. And, it seems like a long time. It's not. I can't believe how old I am. I could have paid for solar panels 3 times just in my adult life already. So I think it's a wise decision financially, but you have to, make sure you've got some good roof space, not a lot of hips and valleys. You want some southern facing exposure. You want your roof in decent repair, so there are some barriers to entry. But if those stars line up, if those things are in order, go solar, man. Do it.
Hey, and again, this is just from a curiosity perspective. Why is it that they can't, the roofing companies that are out there can't create shingles that actually have all of the same technology in it? Can we not make a solar panel as thin as the panels that are out there right now?
Yeah, Tesla and DuPont have both done it. I was out in Hawaii last year for the new Tesla roof, and it was really great demonstration. They let us take golf balls and drivers and tee off right into these panels. And I can whack it, and it was a really interesting, fun way to demonstrate the product line. It's expensive, but then you roof your home rather than roofing it with shingles. You roof with these really neat solar panels and you're done.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think about it. I live in a small home in California that we bought a couple of years ago. And if I had to re-roof my house right now, I probably would be spending $25,000 to re-roof the house with the same type of shingle that's on there. On top of which, if I had a solar company come out, I'm probably going to spend 15 or 20 grand to panel my. So why can't we combine the two things together? There's got to be an invention in there. And it sounds like there is.
Yeah. That's a natural progression of thinking.
So tell me a little bit about the business side of things for a second, because there's so many entrepreneurs that really do feel, and when we're all early in on the growth of our company, anybody that's got a checkbook is a potential client. And I loved what you said a little bit earlier, which is, hey, look, you have a premium level product, and if you don't want it, then there's the door. I don't need to sell you the product. I don't want to sell a component without doing the entire thing. Talk to my entrepreneurs that are out there about the importance of being able to say no, or being able to fire a client that actually isn't a good and valuable client for your business.
When you're trying to make it and you're starving, and payroll seems like it's every day is payroll. It feels like it comes so often. You're probably paying everybody but you. And I can't tell you how many payrolls we had where I worked like a dog, Doug, and there was no check for me. Don't give up. Ask your customers why they bought it. So what happens as engineers and entrepreneurs and designers, we fall so in love with our thing. We get so close to it that, we think that people are going to buy it for this or buy it for that. I really thought that more people would buy our product because it saves 12 or 15% on your bill. They don't buy it for that. In fact, that's a terrible customer, because that customer is a penny pincher. That customer is so frugally minded that they're out there looking for ways. He wants to get it at the very best price he can. In fact, this is how that customer actually says, I'll tell you what, put it on for free. And if it saves money, then after a year, I'll have saved enough, I can pay you. I'm not teasing. I get that conversation. Or,
right.
You put it on for free and we'll split the savings. No, because then every month I've got to analyze your bill with you, and we have to arrive at how much is due to the weather and how much is due to the box. And I have to beg you for the dollar. And that customer needs to be begged for the dollar, right? So nobody bought them for that. So even though it does save you money, we can't give them away for that. The person that wants it for health, I mean, money is no object, but look at what we pay on vitamins every month. Look at what we pay on supplements and organic food and our beef and all that stuff. There's no, if you know it to be true, then that's a different conversation. And I had to fire a lot of customers, and it's very hard. Like I said, when there's no check for you, you almost want to take any customer you can. Yeah. But the cheapest customers are the biggest pain in the neck. Yeah. It's the customers that pay full tilt. They love you. They give you a 5-star review. You never hear from them again. It's the person that got it for you for $4 under cost and made you install it that gives you the 4-star review.
Or the
2-star. No, they're the worst customer. Forget it. And if you have to beg them that hard, cut them loose.
I love it. I grew up in an environment. I spent 30 years as a bar mitzvah DJ, and I was a $5,000 DJ in a sea of $350 to $500 DJs. And those guys that were selling it for $350 to $500 were saying to me, "How can you deal in this DJ market working 75 to 100 gigs a year?" I'm like, my clients, when I call them, they answer the phone because they respect me, because they pay the right price. They will basically carry me to the gig. I mean, the clients that are spending 40 grand to have solar panels added to their house, it's a different level of client, a more respectable, not saying that somebody that's willing to pay, that's paying less than that isn't respectable, but the penny pinching person, the pain in the ass customer is the one that's going to spend the least amount of money and give you the most headache along the way in doing it. So I appreciate you sharing that. It's so very true. So very true.
And the more you charge, the more perceived value it has, right? And do you really want someone that's just going to, hit play on DJ, hit play on a playlist on Apple, or do you want someone that's going to turn your event into a party?
Yeah, man.
Make it fun, man, right? And lead it. It's all about experience. And so charge a little bit more, but give a really great customer experience.
Yeah, it is truly the customer experience. Again, you hit it right on the head. I spent more time talking to those DJs that I would train and talk about, anybody can run a 4-hour event. It's the year of planning that happens before that event when you're making your customer feel comfortable. That's what they're paying for. It's not the actual event. I'm hoping at a minimum you're a great DJ. Now you got to give good service and a good customer experience on top of all of that as well. And I know that's what you do as a company. And I so very much appreciate you sharing your message. If someone was in our audience and was interested in hearing more about any aspect of what we talked about today, and I know you got a lot of blog posts on your website and you have your services and your about stuff, what's the best way for somebody to actually reach out to somebody on your team to get more info?
Yeah, so I really think a personal call. And, I pride myself on making really great high-end American-made electronics. But when someone's suffering from EHS and they're like, okay, this darn thing is real. It's an inconvenient reality. It's bad for me. People want to tell their story. People want to be heard, man. They just need to complain a little bit about, I'm not sleeping. I'm suffering this. Maybe my child is having attention problems and they want to put them on drugs and I'm not really sure. They want that unique touch. They want to know, where does it go? Which one do I need? How do I know it's working? Can I return it if it's not? Call our offices. Literally, our phone number is 406-493-1861. It's on our websites, but we will give you the time, whether you buy anything or not, to really genuinely try and serve you as a human being. And if you've got 1 or 2 things that we know about that you can just turn off, you might not even have to buy anything.
I love it. And we don't normally do this, but we will put that link in the show notes for your phone number. Now that you've said it on the podcast, it's accessible. BD and his team will be accessible to you guys if you have any questions or information about need information about what he and his team do, or if you have a problem that you think could be solved by the products and services that BD and his team offer, please reach out. And like he said, and again, I get a real good vibe from the couple of experiences that I've had with BD. He's not the guy that's going to be on the other end of the phone selling you into his services. He wants to find out what the problem is. And if you can do it just by turning a couple of things off or by tweaking some things in your home right now or your business, and he's going to help you do that. BD, thank you so much for sharing your message with our team today.
It was fun. Thanks for dragging some of those questions out of me.
Yeah, my pleasure. Nice Guy community. Never underestimate the value of nice. Again, special thanks to BD Erickson. All of his information about Satic will be right there in the show notes. Steve O'Brien, go ahead and take us out of here.
For the Nice Guys on Business, I'm Steve O'Brien. They have listeners in other countries? I didn't think anyone was listening outside of their house. except maybe their moms.